Blessed High Rising. Blessed High Rising. Thank you for tapping the screen and sharing the live. We'll get to about, I don't know, a couple thousand likes and then we'll get everything started. I just sent an email out to everyone. Hopefully you received it. I'll also record a video about the email as well. Make sure that you have saved the playlist to Intro to Holistic Medicine, both on either on TikTok or on YouTube, whichever one that you stream me on. I do stream on other platforms, but those are the only platforms I have playlists, because those are the only platforms they allow playlists on. So there's that. And then I can only see comments and questions when I'm live on TikTok or YouTube, so I can't see them on any other platform, just so you know. The email that I sent out today will go over and I'll talk about what it's in it and just make sure everybody kind of gets the vibe and understands the structure, because I know everything's kind of loose and I like to structure things and organize things and make sure everybody knows what's up. So thanks for tapping the screen, sharing the live. I'm going to share it a little bit and then we will get started. Thank you for sharing, tapping the screen. Appreciate you for that. I'm just going to share it. If we can work on the likes, that would be great. Thank you all so much. All right, perfect. All right, so we will go ahead and get started. How is everybody doing today? How is everybody feeling today? Everybody doing good? Nice. So, welcome to our Saturday info session. Normally, this Saturday block would be the time that we would do more of an extended lecture. So, I felt like it would be good just so you kind of get into the flow of, tuning in on Saturday at this time if you're going to show up for the live class. So, I sent an email out about different communities that you can choose from. Okay, so you filled out the form, so you've registered for the class, right? And so now that you're registered for the class, you can choose kind of what sort of experience that you want. So there's 3 types of communities that we've built. And if you're not familiar with communities, there's the last video on that playlist, Intro to Holistic Medicine, explains the communities and talks about the experiences. Yeah, I know, it's so fun, isn't it? So it goes over kind of these 3 different tracks. So if you are looking to, let's say, just kind of learn this for yourself, learn this for your health, learn this for your family, then I definitely recommend the holistic lifestyle community. And that's more of like a general where our discussions are going to be, really tendered more towards, your family, treating yourself, that sort of thing. Then the Pure Black community is with more of an Afrocentric lens. So those conversations are going to have a lot more depth to them, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, because of the level of healing that's required. So just understand that that's what that space is for. I would prefer that space to be only a Black space. So, definitely keep that in mind and please be respectful. And then there's also the holistic health coaching cohort, and that is a space for people that are looking to perhaps take this as a certification, want to get into this as a profession, or want to learn and continue on to the holistic health coaching program. So that is that. So you guys kind of understand that there's 3 different experiences. Now, you will be able to access the course materials. I just have to figure out how I'm going to organize them, right? So we're all on a journey together, right? It's like step by step. So, but, I own a health technology company, and, this is kind of the vibe that I do, and we create spaces and we create these experiences on that front, right? Well, I do a lot of things, but but this is really just a very near and dear thing to me, to be able to really again have this container. So if you attended the live before, I talked about having a healing container and the importance of that. So as we go through this experience, to hello, thank you. How do you pronounce your name? If you can put your name in the chat. I was thinking, I was like, oh, I really should say thank you to know. I don't know how to pronounce your name. So I was thinking about, how can we create this where, it really is intentional, because when we're creating something in life, right, whether it is our physical health, whether it's our relationships, whether it is our financial health, it doesn't really matter what area it is of our life, right? That's why I like to say people, places, situations, circumstances, and events, right? Those are like the outside environment versus the inside environment, which is much of like how our immune system is set up, right? So, when we're looking to create something, we start with intention. We start with, what is it that I want to do, right? Why am I participating in this? Why am I going into this? We also talked about passive vessel versus being intentional and being conscious, right? And so when you're a passive vessel, you're just kind of doing things because you're swept up in it, right? You're like, it's exciting, it's fun, our nervous system kind of gets this thrill, if you will, and some of that leads to addiction and that sort of thing. But there's this other thing where we go, you know what, I'm excited, right? I have this emotion of excitement, and I want to sit with why I'm excited and what I want to turn that excitement into. Because otherwise the excitement is just going to fall flat, because we have intrinsic versus extrinsic motivations, right? So meaning, if you intend to do this for someone else, right? We don't want to do this for someone else, because again, there's distance there, there's lack of personalization, which means that perhaps you don't have a significant amount of buy-in. And are you doing this out of a rescuer complex, which is an aspect of the victim consciousness? So are you doing this really to, also to absolve yourself of any sort of guilt? There's that too. So we want to look at what our intentions are, and we want to get really clear about what it is that we want to create with this experience, right? So we also talk about results, right? So results that we want to achieve. So, we have 12 weeks together, right? We want to make the best use of our time. And so we want to think about, again, what is it that I want to create after these 12 weeks? And think about things that are tangible. Think about specific goals that you can accomplish, whether that is, okay, I want to drop X amount of pounds during this time. I want to, improve my mental and emotional health by this metric. I want to, optimize my schedule and optimize my life more, with this particular exercise. I want to learn, different things that I can treat my family with, and I can, be more natural and self-sustaining. We want to think about what your intentions are behind, right, why you're doing this, because those are typically the reasons why people seek out holistic healthcare, right? The other aspect is chronic disease management. A lot of times people will develop chronic disease and then, want to seek out other solutions because they don't like the conventional medical model, right? So again, I'm going to talk about this because it's very relevant to where we are in time and space. Chronic disease and chronic illness is driving our healthcare cost and our administrative cost. A majority of the cost of healthcare, are really from a lack of education, a lack of access. Those are the pain points anyway. But, I really think it's a multitude of things that really impacts it. But we do know administrative costs really significant. I think of like 40% are driving what you're actually spending when you're going to the healthcare system. So there's this idea, right, that because I pay into health insurance, that my health insurance is there to help me with my health, right? When in fact, in reality, your health insurance was originally designed for catastrophic emergency. Think your car insurance, right? You don't take your car in and say, hey, I need new tires, I need my 10,000 mile servicing, I need an oil change, I need filters. Like, imagine if you called Geico for that. Imagine if you called anybody for that. So we have this, unfortunately, this confirmation bias to assume that, we have insurance, so our insurance is there to help, protect, save, and it's not. It's really there for catastrophic emergency. So whereas, let's say, like your HSA account or your FSA account is really more for your preventative care, things that are not going to be covered under your major medical. So in terms of strategy, definitely, and check with all your people, right? But in terms of strategy, definitely moving forward from a health insurance perspective, if you're not going to be using the conventional model, it's best to move into more of a catastrophic plan because it'll lower your deductible and then offset that rest of that money into an HSA account that provides you more freedom that then you can utilize for the things that you need, right? So for instance, anything with my practice is covered under HSA. So hello, Anna. It's our favorite advisor. It's our very best one. I love it. I know all the lovely social media raves. It's been cool. Yeah. So that's also a strategy too, because we also have to think strategically, over this next thing about how we're going to approach our healthcare. So the solution that I'm providing to you, right, really puts you in the driver's seat of your healthcare. It helps you to be more proactive instead of reactive with your healthcare, right? Currently, we are in a reactionary system, meaning we are not told how we need to treat our body effectively. We are then given, toxic food, toxic water, toxic stress. All this stuff is coming at us and keeping us out of balance consistently, right? And then we, break down because we're trying to be resilient and juggle all the things. And then we go into this healthcare system expecting, some resolve, some solution, some support, only to be tossed around, gaslit, told 1,000 different things that don't match up, and really just a waste of time, a waste of energy, a waste of resources. But there's this idea that, well, I pay this insurance and I've got my copay. So, but when I did the numbers way back when I came up with my practice model, because at the time in the very beginning of me, coming out of school and really being into, my clinicals was when the ACA was starting. So that's when I went through my MPH, my Master's in Public Health, and I learned and I studied about the health healthcare system and learned about kind of its, again, the efficiencies. Now I've learned so much more than I learned then, but that is really the practice model that I came up with, right? Is really, it was to counterbalance the, what really didn't work about the healthcare system, right? It doesn't work that you have to keep going back to multiple people and nobody tells you anything. It doesn't work that you have to go to 1,000 different people, to try to get one answer. It doesn't work, that no matter how much you say, hey, this isn't working, that isn't working, it's like a robot, nothing gets through, right? It just doesn't work. There's so many different things within the system that are broken, and that's why, looking at all aspects of the healthcare system, it was just through my deductive reasoning, looking at it from a clinical perspective, looking at it from a legislative perspective, looking at it from, a chronic disease perspective, because that's really, a huge base, and growing, from misinformation and a lack of public health education. So, there's all these things kind of swimming around. And so what's the solution? And so I spent a lot of time setting intentions, right? And with my intention, right, I then go into my mind and I shift my mindset, right? And through that, I've been able to create some amazing things, like a fully functioning family practice that was completely holistic that I held for almost 15 years, and becoming a doctor, after all the crazy things that had happened to me in my life. And so I just want to share this magic with you that I've spent my entire life studying, learning, understanding. This is not a gimmick kind of thing. And in fact, in the first week, we're going to talk about ethics because there will be no shenanigans in the name of Dr. Steele, right? Because I have strong ethics and integrity. And so what does that mean? I'm just going to give you a preview to it. So this is why we're talking about intention right now. This is why we're talking about what is your intention behind going through this program, right? Because there's a different level of scope of practice for each of these levels, right? So let's say I'm going with the intention for me and my family, right? So ethically, right, I'm going for me and my family. That's my closest family. So the information that I'm learning goes to my closest family, but by no means am I going with the intention of now I'm going to go set up a shingle, or now I'm going to run a live on TikTok, or now I'm going to, do these little mini consults on the side because now I think I know what's up, right? Because a little bit of knowledge can be a dangerous thing, right? And so we just want to make sure we're operating with integrity as I'm really kind of pulling the curtain back and teaching you, practices that typically we learn, as doctors. So, we want to be responsible with this because I don't want to hear, oh, doctor, what happened? I made, So we have ethical boundaries and ethical standards, right? So for instance, if you're going into it with an intention of being a health coach, right, there are, certain parameters, right, that I can create for you that, we can do that where you are in a structured learning environment, where you're in a safe learning environment, where you can, practice and that sort of thing. So it helps me as well, so I can kind of know, where you're at in space and time, and really what you're looking to achieve, really, again, with your health, right? The advantage of having so much different background in education is to be able to look at, the relationship that one of these aspects, one like healthcare in general and clinical healthcare or research or, clinical practice or business management or marketing or whatever, there's all these different intersections. So understanding, where your thought process is really comes in handy. So we have the 3 communities. I'm going to drink a little bit of water because my mouth is like super dry. Hold on. Presente. Okay, so yeah, so you should have gotten the email. I'm waiting to get back my A2 certification on my on on the text for that line. And so or excuse me, that the school. So the actual school is built off of its own thing, so it's separate from my practice. In terms of like the website and all that kind of stuff that you're receiving emails from. So, with that being said, eventually I'll be able to, once I go, there's all kinds of security that we have to go through, in order to make sure that we're good to go. So once we get through all of that, you'll be able to get even a text message when I go live. So it kind of reminds you, if you're in, space and time or whatever. And like I was saying yesterday, so I have a couple other support classes too, that are available. So that are just drop in. You don't have to like register for those classes or whatever. It's morning flow. So that's Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will put them on a playlist as well. I'll organize them. I don't think I have them on TikTok. They're just on YouTube. So I'll organize those on a playlist on YouTube. So you have them. That way, whenever you wake up, you can use them if you need them. Because I really recommend that you kind of set that structure for whichever experience you choose, whichever community you become. Yeah, I know. Whichever community, really make sure that you set that intention for the day, because it really does create more flow in your day. So you'll have that, and then I'll choose probably like 2 a week to do like 1 or 2 hour just kind of co-working study groups that will just go on live, and I'll have some like more I can't even remember frequency style music. I'll figure it out when my brain kind of wakes up. So I'll put some frequency music on, and then I'm going to teach you the Pomodoro method, and I'll kind of walk you through kind of some of the biofeedback tools to retrain your brain for focus and attention. So feel free to drop that in. Whichever community that you're a part of, there is an event calendar in there. So I'll post all the events in there so that they're in there, so that when they happen, they'll pop up. And then I also want to say too, there's a lot of content, right? So I've been doing this for years, right? And, have been in media for a long time, been in public health education for a long time. So just pace yourself. I'm going to give you a lot of things. Like I sent out, there's like a couple blog posts, feel free to read it. But then you look, and I've got all these other blogs from all these years. Go down rabbit holes if you want to, but also to, just take it, a little bit at a time. Hello, Erica. Yeah, exactly. Oh, very cool. Awesome. Yes, indeed. So we definitely want to, organize, and let me see. I'm sorry. Can you rephrase that, Robin? I didn't quite get all of that. So, okay. I was waiting on TikTok for live. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Yeah, I'm on TikTok right now too. I don't know if you've seen me on TikTok, but I'm streaming on both right now. So I'm on YouTube and I'm on TikTok right now. And it's the same. It's Dr. Erica Steele on both. I'm most platforms. I'm Dr. Erica Steele. So there's like very few the ones. So that way you kind of get into a groove in terms of like, the information. So we kind of, there's the theory, right? And then there's the practical application. So we're always going to kind of be dealing in this duality. So really get comfortable in this duality, right? And so it will help, because in Western medicine, it's all very fixed, right? It's like, it's either this or it's that, right? But it's not just this or that, right? It's not that at all, right? There are so many variables, right? And so remember, we talked about this framework. What do we think? What do we know? What can we prove, right? And so we're going to understand methodology to be able to organize what do we think, what do we know, and what can we prove, right? And that way we have just this open hypothesis, which again can be uncomfortable for people, because people want a label. They want, I have this, I am this, I am that, but once you put that label on, you lose a lot of possibility, and you really, your whole identity now goes into that, who you are, right? Or who you think you are. So we really begin in the mindset. And so, again, I'm going to organize this other playlist for you. And this is, again, more for those that are wanting to do like a health coaching cohort. So there are aspects of the mind, and the mind is set up, again, into three different aspects that we'll look at: the primitive mind, the subconscious mind, and the conscious mind. And so the primitive mind, that regulates, pretty much two motivations: love or fear. So love is connection, faith, joy, peace, happiness, all of those high vibrations that we feel, right? And then fear is all these low vibrations that we feel, sadness, anger, right? But we classify them as responses, because when we have a fear response, right, our nervous system thinks, oh my God, what's going on? Right? And so because what's going on, right, we go into defense modes, right? So fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? So there's four of them that we look at, and they show up in different components and different behaviors, right? So we have actions, right, that we do that create habits, right? And these habits create behaviors, and then these behaviors eventually create our lifestyle. And what we're doing is we're transforming over the next year into a holistic lifestyle, right? So wherever you are right now, we need to take an inventory, right? That's why we're going to put you in a container. That's why in your mind's eye, right, if you go through this process, right, you say to your mind, you go, you know what? You go, I am going to, whatever intention I have, right, based off the desire, which we'll talk about in a minute, I'm going to put myself in this container, and I'm going to observe myself, right? And so what that intention does of observation in your container is that it takes you out of this victim consciousness, right? So we'll talk about the victim consciousness. So the victim consciousness, again, is this disempowered state, but it shows up in many ways, right? It shows up like the victim: I'm helpless, I'm hopeless, I'm powerless, right? But it will also show up as the savior, right? So I'm going to rescue you. I'm going to fix this for you. This is going to happen for you, right? And so we have to watch that, because so number one, we cannot save people from themselves. And this is going to be such a hard lesson for some of you, I know. But we cannot save people from themselves. I almost want everybody to repeat it after me, and so because we're drawn to this usually because of, myself included. I was drawn into this work because my mother, for many years I wanted to heal my mother. I'm over that now, right? However, I remember that, right? Hey, Tata kisses. And so, there is a process of deconstruction that has to happen with that, because you're not the savior, right? That wasn't your, that wasn't your responsibility, and that responsibility you took on as a child, or whenever, most of the time it's a child, because of whatever you saw and whatever stories that you made that are now housed in your subconscious mind. And so now that unhealed, unhurt, wounded child is walking around calling the shots to the adult you, and you're reacting based off of that, trying to rescue, save, fix, all of the things, right? So we're not going to go into a healing space. The behavior that got you here is not going to get you out, my friend, right? So again, 40,000 people is a lot of people. I've been gamed a lot of different games, right? And they're really, what I find is they're just strategies. So defense mechanisms are strategies, that the subconscious uses, or the primitive mind uses, in order to keep itself safe, right? And so it doesn't realize that you're trying to help it, right? It sees it as a predator, whatever, people, place, situation, circumstance, or event, whatever is outside of myself, not inside of myself, that I perceive, right? So all kinds of sensations are going to happen in this journey, right? Your primitive mind, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So while we're still friends, There you go. Because why? There's a mirror, right? I'm a big mirror, and there's accountability. So, when we have accountability, right? Because I want everyone to succeed, right? I want everyone to thrive. I want us all to be living in the utopia that we deserve. Enough of the shenanigans. I don't have any energy for the shenanigans. There's a lot of it going on. I'm only going to look at what applies to me, take the rest, forget, take what I need, forget the rest. Like, that is our new motto. And so we really want to focus in, right, on ourselves. And so that's why putting ourselves in a container can really help, when we're looking at that. The other thing is the persecutor. So back to the victim triangle, right, and the victim consciousness. So the persecutor. So let's say you go to help somebody and that person rejects your hostile takeover, right? Then all of a sudden, now you're hurt. Now the conversation is, don't you know who I am? Don't you know what I've done for you? I've done all these things for you. I've helped you so much. How could you do this to me? And this is a deep betrayal, and all those kinds of conversations, if those sound familiar, right? That is called the persecutor, right? The persecutor, right, at times can overexert themselves, right? But they have a rejection and an abandonment wound. So they actually do it as a self-sabotaging mechanism in order to keep that in place, right? And again, there's nuance to everything. But we begin to see this, and so we understand deep in the conscious awareness, the subconscious mind, how the subconscious mind begins to try to protect itself as a strategy. Because we're using our prefrontal cortex. So we begin in the mind, like I said. And there is a lot of information in terms of how we look at these things and how we perceive things. But again, there's this light and there's this dark and there's just duality that exists, which is just really amazing. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for all of those things. If you're not registered yet, and you would know if you're registered because you're getting emails now. And so all the emails are set up, that sort of thing. If you want to get a certificate at the end of the course, there is the payment options available. They're put on the page, and the link should work just fine now. If they're not, please reach out to me, like just send a response back to the email. They should work just fine. I've tested them a few times. So, and thanks for being patient with me as we kind of get all these things in order. Let's see. All right. So we talked about the victim conscious, the persecutor. Okay. So then let's say the persecutor, that doesn't work because the persecutor, I don't know why it would show test mode. Yeah, that's odd because they're all published. Because we've gotten some other ones. Okay, I'll check again. Maybe I'll have to do it another way. There's like 1,000 ways I can do these things, so I'll figure it out. Okay, so the persecutor, right? So the persecutor's motivation really is to look good, avoid looking bad, and is really driven by a lot of pride and ego, right? And so we definitely want to, be mindful of that, right? Because we all have these tendencies, we all have these traits. They're just strategies in order for us to try to protect ourselves. So let's say the persecutor doesn't work, then we go into the powerless help. We go back again, another rejection, abandonment. Now we're we're not loved, we're not appreciated. We were only trying to help. Now we're gonna go eat worms, and now we're back again, right? So if you're interested in that work, I think her name was Lynn McDonald, who did that piece of work. The Victim Triangle, really powerful book. If any of those kinds of behaviors as we go through this process, show up for you. So we want to kind of get into this mindset of, again, oh no, you're totally good, you're right on time, of the intention, right? What intention we're coming into this experience with, right? Because we're really shifting our identity, okay? So we have a self-concept, we have a way that we see ourselves in the world based off of our subconscious mind, right? So our primitive mind is going to fight to keep whatever our subconscious believes in place, right? So if we have a personal identity of, I'm this or that, right? My primitive mind is going to lock into that experience. And anytime I get kind of close to that, close to getting over that, then I'm going to sabotage. They call that the pentacle of your success. Okay. So and I'm going to start using terms, so bear with me. I have a whole webinar. It's like a 50-minute webinar that breaks all this down for you, right? So not to worry. We'll get into it. Again, it's a lot of information. I've spent a lot of years studying and not just learning it, but practically applying it. So there's a theory and then there's a practice. That's why if I know kind of what your intention is, I can guide the conversation to kind of meet more of your needs. Okay, so here we go. So we have, we have this hardwiring to this experience called life, okay? And so based off of our belief system, based off of how we believe ourselves in the world. So it all begins with self and that 0 to 8 years old, whatever occurred in that 0 to 8 years old, and even the intention that we were brought into, right? Into existence with. In combined with mission and everything else, right? There's a lot that goes into this thing called a life, right? That again, a lot of us are very passive to. We're just kind of, this grand miracle of life. We're like, no big deal. It'll go by. We'll figure it out. Not realizing that we're here for a very divine reason, whatever that reason is, right? And I'm not here to tell you what that reason is. Remember, I'm nobody's guru, right? You're your own guru. You know everything that you need inside of yourself, right? It's just, there's so many distractions, right? There's so many, in yoga, they call them chitti vrittis, which are mental modifications. There's so many things just going on in your brain, right? And then your nervous system is saying so many other things. And then your emotions are saying so many other things. And it's very confusing. So that's why usually when you come into this practice, a lot of times you come in a bit of a mess. So if you feel a little messy, if you feel like a human, welcome to the human experience, where we don't live in denial, where we hold ourselves accountable. Yes, ourselves accountable, right? Because again, we can't hold each other accountable if we're not able to hold ourselves accountable. Otherwise, we lack integrity, okay? We're incongruent. So if we're saying one thing, but our actions are doing another, that's incongruent. That means the conscious mind maybe is operating on one system, but the subconscious is operating on another system. And maybe in some certain aspects of it, pretty much you're telling on yourself, okay? So don't think that, you as a human being are a mystery or are unique, because while you are definitely the apple of, your mother, son's, cousin, sisters, uncles, whomever's eye, right? There are certain behaviors that are instinctual and primitive, and they're just strategies that the mind uses in order to survive or keep itself safe. So as we're going in this container, right, and this community of healing, keep that in mind, because perception is not reality, okay? Perception is not always fact and truth. That's why, again, this duality, right, of number one, what do we think, what do we know, can we prove? But also, too, there is, this duality that exists in life, polarity, right, wrong, good, or bad. And while that can be a very fixed way of thinking in some respects, in the beginning, it helps you to understand that there's a balance to everything, right? And so it doesn't have to be finite balance. It can be very fluid balance. That's why I like flow, right? Having a holistic lifestyle isn't about knowing all the things, right? In fact, I'll tell you a quick story. My so I had this patient one time, and I was in Virginia Beach, so a lot of I would treat a lot of patients from Carolina who would come up, like really like down home country people from Carolina, and so they would come up and they'd want to get treated or whatever. And I had this one lady come to me, older lady, and she came for like I think high cholesterol, diabetes, the spectrum of metabolic issues. So she came to me, and I'm working with her, right? And she must have had like no more than maybe a fourth grade education, right? So she came to me, and I gave her directions, right? The thing with me, I'm going to give you directions, right? I would give you a checklist. I'm going to give you, I'm going to make it easy for you. All you got to do is follow it. So lo and behold, I did all of that. She worked through the process. Normally, it takes a year to work with me initially, right? And then we work from there. So, but around about like 6 months, because we started with an intention and we started with what result we wanted to create. And right about 6 months, she's like, "Oh, Dr. Seal, I think I'm ready to, I think I'm done with the practice now." And I go, "Really?" And she goes, "Yeah, I think I'm done." I go, "Okay, well let's pull out, and see where you're at." And she'd been doing so well, right? And I looked it up, and she had reduced her medication, and she had more energy, and she had resolved, an issue she had with her husband, and she was communicating better, and she had achieved all of the goals that she needed to achieve. And so she wanted to be done with her practice. And my practice works is like you can be free at any time, but I do discount my fees. So there was an early termination fee, and her husband came, they paid it, boom, done, right? And so the reason that I say this is this, they were so grateful. The reason I say this is that you don't have to be incredibly intelligent, to figure this out, right? You don't have to know all the things to, have a holistic lifestyle, right? And so I don't want you to be intimidated because I'm speaking in all these things. This is to create an experience, right? So you are being immersed in the science of holistic medicine. And so even if you're not necessarily picking it up to recite it later, that's why if your intention is to come for you and your family, you don't need to know all the technical stuff, right? But if your intention is to come to be a professional, you better know all the technical stuff, right? So, really beginning this process of thinking, how do I want to enter this? Like, this is exciting, this is fun, I'm digging it, I'm vibing on it, everything is looking good, but what do I want to get from it? Like, what do you want to get from this experience? Because that, again, is how we really want to operate intentionally in life in general. And so let me know any of your questions. When we're talking about intention, we also talk about desire, right? So desire is something that we have and this is, again, we're getting into the metaphysical space, right? So we're not talking about original sin, okay? So just so we're clear. So desire, though, is something that is positive, is good, is loving, lights you up, lights the world up, is something that really allows you to feel free, right? So that is a desire, right? Something that is going to help you and humanity. So we're going to define desire, right? So if your desire is to go gamble, go drink, go whatever, that's a different conversation we can have at a later time. So desire, right? We want more of like our PG-13, like our Disney movie. I have like butterflies floating on the screen. So we want happy, okay? And these are desires, right? And we want big, okay? We don't want small, okay? We don't want like, oh, I want to get out of debt. Like, okay, that's great, right? But what go further? What does that mean, right? When you get out of debt, what are you going to do next? What is the next, phenomena, right? Because we need to think about the future. So when you're thinking about your intention, I want you to think about, okay, if I go on this journey with this crazy lady for a year, right? What do I want to look like in a year? Okay, so go ahead and, if you wouldn't mind, take just a moment, just a simple moment. Take a breath and think about a year from now. We're 2026. We're in, our reunion episode. We're all laughing. Oh my gosh, wow, that was a crazy year. And what mattered most to you? What did you accomplish, right? And what does that look like? What does that feel like? How does that sound? Like, I want you to really engage with it and allow yourself to go there. And I'm sure there's a lot of fear that comes up. There's a lot of resistance, and that's fine. We'll deal with all that later. But I just want you to allow yourself to dream just for a moment. Like you were a little kid again, and somebody said, "What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want your life to be like when you grow up?" And what would you say? So this is your first inquiry. This is your first self-examination, right? This is your first, I'm in the container, right? I've put this question in the container, right? So I've chose my container, but maybe I don't know my container, right? So maybe this practice is going to help me figure out what container that I'm in. What do I want? What do I wanted to have accomplished with this? Because I'll have time investment, if nothing else. So what will I have accomplished? And we're going to redefine success, because accomplishment is not, what certificate you have or what dollar amount you have, right? Although that can be a part of it, right? Somebody said liberated, free. And also, we don't have to figure out how we got there. That's the other tricky thing. And the more creative people are and the more intelligent they are, the more they start getting busy with the how. They allow themselves to be in that, liberated, free, relaxed, peaceful, like everything's divine. And then all of a sudden they get into boom, 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 boom. What do I need to do? Proud, wiser, better person, overall better person. These are great. So what we want to do, right, is not get into the how, not get into the minutia. So I'm going to give you a fire hose of information, okay? And what happens is, right, is you are going to really have to be led by your intention and really be guided to what resonates the most with you and what makes the most sense with you. Oh, been married 12 years, more tranquility, inner peace. I love it. There's like so many fun Disney movies. Take that. So yeah, I love that, right? Yay, exactly, to help other people, right? So we're really going into it of, right, we're thinking about what it is that we want to intend, right? So who do I have to be? So now that's the next inquiry. In order to quantum leap and be that human being, who do I have to be? So if I put myself in that person and I look back and I'm telling myself in the present now, who do you need to be? What do you need to do? What do you need to learn? Who do you need to be, right? Remember, we're human beings having a human experience, right? So it's who we're being. So in order to show up for you, right, I need to be committed. I need to be focused. I need to be intentional. I need to be meditative. And I don't need, and I don't want, I just am, right? So even in the being, right, even being creates separation. So we're going to drop the being and we're going to be I am. So I'm focused, right? So if I need to be, right, more intentional, right, then I need to recognize that I am intentional. So we drop the need. We drop the want. I don't know who I need to be. Okay, so why don't we go into the inquiry of it, right? Because if you don't know, who does? I don't know. Nobody else knows, right? So we ask ourselves, if I did know, what would it be? Right? Or maybe we start to go, I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to do my part. Show me. Okay, so little disclaimer on the show me. Okay. So show me is like a declaration, right? So we're going to break this down. I'm willing to do this differently, right? I'm willing to do my part. I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to see my part, right? So I'm seeing and I'm doing, right? Now show me. Now show me, okay, is giving permission, is giving authority, okay? So now I'm saying, bring it. I'm done with this. I'm done with this experience. Cancel, delete it. It's over. It's done. It's history. Show me. Show me what the next thing is. Next chapter, right? So now when the message comes, when the inspired actions come, because we've accepted ourselves, right? Fully. We've accepted the light and the dark. Remember that duality? We've accepted the balance. Yay, I love it. We've accepted that balance, right? So now we're neutral into higher self. Show me. Show me. I am prepared. I am that new human. Okay, so unachievable, right? Oh, I love it. Holistic intentions. I love that. So unachievable, right? Let's break this down. Who I want to be seems so unachievable. So I need to change how I view myself. So let's break this down, right? Who I want, right? So want is a longing, right? And who, right? There's a lack of clarity, a lack of responsibility, and a lack of choice. A little bit of laziness there. Love you, love you, love you. Because if I decide who, right, then I'm responsible for the follow through. So I'd rather be like who, and then I can sit in complacency, right? So who I want, right? So we talked about the who, want. Now we've got detachment. Now it's a want. It's in the future. It may never come. It's probably not going to come. So I don't really need to deal with that. So I'm just going to leave it over here, right? Seems so unachievable. This is so much bigger than me. I'm this teeny tiny little person. Who am I? I couldn't possibly do this, feel this, experience this, be this person, right? And so now I need to change, right? I'm broken. There's something wrong with me. I need to be fixed, right? How I view myself, I'm disassociating. This is just this is just between the who and between the unachievable, between the want, right, and between all the change, there's just too much. There's just too much, right? Okay, so I get the overwhelm and the exhaustion, and I get all of that, right? And so, yeah, I try to be sensitive with stuff like lazy, it's like, canceled on the first day, so anywho, all right, so all right, we've thrown ourselves on the court, right? Yep. Yeah, exactly. When we view ourselves, number one, when we view ourselves, right? So we're witnessing, so that's in one aspect, but we're not internalizing, so that's another aspect, right? And then broken, right? I'm unrepairable. That's that stench of original sin, quite honestly. That original sin has really gotten to people. A really quick story about original sin. So this is how bad original sin impacts people. Um, Again, family practice. Um, I would work with these families that were deeply religious, like very deep, like Christian values, like really conservative, almost like in the Mormon, world. I mean, not Mormon because I've treated distinctly Mormons, but other all kinds of different sects. Think that, right? So thank you, Sean. I appreciate you so much. So anyway, she would come to all my classes and brought her children to me, and like they trusted me. And so the children eventually kind of grew up or whatever, and they brought one of the kiddos back for me to see them. And this baby was now 19, kind of going off to college, that kind of era of it. And I've seen this with multiple family systems, right, that have this, where and different age groups and things like that. But unfortunately, the confusion of the original sin conversation and I'm flawed and there's something wrong with me, sometimes those conversations have permeated so much to the point that in this particular case, when she went to go try to kind of launch off to college, there was so much fear and so much hesitation that we had to deconstruct out of that, because not only was it all of that kind of original sin, but it was also the fear of disappointing her parents because she was stepping away from that kind of conversation. So it really, there's a lot of nuance to it. I understand really it's just a conversation about accountability, which is great, but when we frame it like you're bad and you're always going to be bad, that's extremely damaging to the psyche. And many of us, if not all of us, have been kind of indoctrinated underneath that regime. So we want to acknowledge kind of this feeling of brokenness, but also recognize and validate and reframe to understand that what's broken can be mended, and these are pieces, right? These are just pieces. Oh, yay, hey, what's up? Yes, I do. So if you're registered for the Intro to Holistic Medicine, if you click the link in my bio, register it, then I can get you a schedule, with texting and emails and that kind of thing. So I'm going to be on live Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and then Saturday around this time for a couple hours. And then morning flow class, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. And that's more of kind of like a meditation class, and then a couple co-working classes. So definitely join the community and get in the email and all that kind of stuff, because I'm a creator, right? So again, in a holistic lifestyle, right? So I create, right? And so there's free form. So I may go, you know what, I want to teach a class, or, oh, I want to bring in this professional, or I was talking to, this doctor, and, oh, they're really excited and I want them to come and chat with you guys, and so, so those kinds of things. So, yeah. So, all right. So back to our storage unit, right? So we have our container, right? And we have all these pieces and all these parts. So that's why I said we're going to sift and sort, right? So remember, it's still in a whole. So even if there are these broken pieces, even if there's all these boxes everywhere, it's still in something. It's still in a container, right? So we're good, and we're going to reorganize them. And what we're going to liberate with is knowing that we've been given all the information that we could have made at the time, meaning that none of us said, you know what, I really want to screw this up, or I really want to, do this horrible, or I want this horrible result. We don't say that. We intend good things, right? But then a lot of times it's our execution, which we'll talk about, that really breaks down. And so why does our execution break down? That's that in-between space that we're going to talk about, right? Because what do they say? Like the road to hell is paved in good intentions, right? Intention is just a thought. Well, it's even greater than a thought. It's more of like an aspiration, right? It's not a result. It's not even a goal, right? It has really it has to be transitioned, right? Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but it has to be transformed. It has to be transformed into some action, right? It can't just kind of sit there and just, be etherical. I mean, I'd love to think one day, we could just, whatever, and poof. I'm still waiting for, the squirrels to come and fold my laundry. So here we go. We set an intention. So you're going to figure out what your intention is, right? So let's say we get an intention and we figure it out. So now we have a thought, right? And so now our thoughts are, what do I need to prepare? What do I need to do? How do I need to get this done? So we want to create a structure for ourselves in order to achieve fulfillment, okay? So a structure for fulfillment is what we're going to talk about. In addition to ethics and that kind of thing, we're going to talk about structures for fulfillment that we will create for ourselves. And here's the great thing about a structure for fulfillment. We can make our structure as light as we want, or we can make our structure as rigorous as we want, right? But here's the thing. Right, about all of these choices, right, that we have universal laws. So there's cause and effect. So let's say you have all of these aspirations and you go, you know what, I'm going to just do it all. I'm going to attend it all, right? And you do all of it, right? By the second or third week, you burn out, right? And you're not wanting to do any of it. Okay, so most people, what they do is they break down and they stop and they don't keep going, right? But we're not going to do that in this time, right? Because that's not going to work, because we're accountable. Because I'm going to be like, hey, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a while. You haven't been posting. What's going on? Other people are going to be like, hey, what's going on? Because you're probably going to be in a group together. Like, that's like, it's going to start getting a little like, what's going on, right? And so here's the thing. Because if we stay safe in our little comfort zone, it will not work. You will not transform. And that person that you visited, just a little while ago, that person will stay there and will always be there, but will never be created. All right, so now let's talk about the pentacle of your success. Okay, so in your mind, so we talked about subconscious 0 to 8 years old. Now let's talk about the conscious mind, because that's really what we're going to be working with now. The conscious mind is your logic, your voice, your reason, your decision making. Your conscious mind develops around like 9 to 12 years old. And your conscious mind has a deep-seated need, number one, of belonging, right? And two, okay, it creates a lot of defense mechanisms, right, to keep itself safe, right, to keep itself protected. Not only that, to keep your inner child safe and your inner child protected, right? So let's say you're going through life and you're bebopping along, and then all of a sudden this amazing opportunity comes up. Like you go viral, you win the lottery, you meet the man of your dreams, the woman of your dreams, the they of your dreams, whoever, right? You all of a sudden just find out you're, pregnant or whatever, right? Whatever your thing is, right? If your conscious mind is not prepared for that, and your nervous system is not prepared for that, pentacle of success, you will sabotage it. Why? Because you are hardwired to say, this is the certain threshold that I can be at. If I go up here, I gotta come down here. Okay. So this is what explains when, let's say you see somebody who, they just spontaneously, they get a success out of nowhere. And next thing you know, you're seeing them do really, you're like, and then it turns into shenanigans, right? What you're seeing in real time in real life, right, is an expression, is an experience of pentacle of their success. What happened was is the success, they manifested more than what they thought was possible. And so then all of a sudden what happened is the mind goes, nope, shut it back down, get back in line, right? So if you are a person that seems like, man, I keep doing the same thing and the same thing and the same thing and the same thing and the same person, the same time, this is probably the pentacle of your success. So here's how it showed up for me in business. I'll tell you a quick story. So it showed up for me in my hiring big time. And I think I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. So I hired my mother probably a million times. Not my literal mother. My mother's never worked for me, right? But I'm talking about unhealed emotional trauma from my mother has been hired multiple times, right? And it was interesting because, I would hire, so here's how, like, I would hire, the staff, and, they wouldn't work, or they would get into a power struggle with me, or they wouldn't respect me, or all of the things, right? They would mirror all these, thoughts, emotions, perceptions, all back to me, right? And I'm trying to, again, achieve this success, and this is slowing me down. So we're working here and then slowing me down and then working, oh, can you get this? No, you gotta do this. Oh gosh, you pissed off Mrs. Jones. Why'd you do that? All of these things that it started to become almost like a 3-ring circus, like literally, right? So I said, you know what? We're gonna look at this. So that there is a disturbance in the force, and I'm not even a Star Wars person, but I'm like, wait a second, this cannot be happening. And so I took a step back, right, and I put everything in a container, right, and here's what I came up with, right, is that I had this internal need to be supported, but right, I was emotionally starved as a child, so I had it switched in my brain in terms of what it meant to be supported. So being sucked dry was what I interpreted as support, right? To be extorted was what I had interpreted as being successful, right? And so a lot of these beliefs are switched in your brain, right? And so when you're trying to achieve, or you're trying to, break through, or you're trying to manifest, and then you get brought back down to reality, instead of like, oh, this didn't work, just realize congratulations, you passed the next class, you're in the next breakdown, because it's just a series of breakdowns and breakthroughs and breakdowns and breakthroughs. So enjoy the breakthrough while you got it, and put your feet up if you're chilling and everything's all happy, great, right? Because number one, that means either you're coming off of a breakthrough, or right, you've stagnated. And you're not working, you're all hands on deck, you're not healing. And it's not about healing out here, it's about healing in here. Because if we stop focusing on the distractions out here, and we start focusing on here, and we start healing in here, out here is going to change, because we're all part of this collective consciousness, right? So does that make sense? Yay! So we're setting our intentions. We're being intentional with our practices. We're going to get into ethics the first week. We're going to get into the aspects again, and I talked about it a lot, but I'll run through them again, right? So we look at the physical health and well-being. We look at modalities around that. So in this particular class, we'll look at the modalities behind your physical health and well-being, meaning like movement, nutrition, as well as mindfulness practice. So we'll get a little bit of mind, body, emotional, spirit going on. And we'll break down and we'll look at the different modalities. Thank you. We'll look at the different modalities, which are just treatment tools, that we have for us to be able to heal. So, and there's so many. So we're going to use our data that we're going to collect along with all of these really fun modalities, and I'll break them down for you so you can begin to understand them, because over the years, there's again mastery to this, right? I make it look easy, right? But in the beginning, I was just like you. I was like, what? And this and that and hello. And so over time, as you begin to practice and it becomes your work and it becomes your embodiment, and then you really be, in a position to really teach others and help other people heal, and a structure of doing it. And if we have a structure, right, then we can execute. And so if there's no execution, then, or if there's limiting beliefs or core beliefs that are hindering our execution and we're not aware of them, we're unconscious to them, we need more tools and more skills and more data to be able to break those down so that we can move forward. And so unfortunately, even when we're presented with tools and data, doesn't mean that we are emotionally, mentally, or spiritually ready to let go of whatever that thing is. Let's take resentment, for instance. Resentment is a combination of a lot of emotions put together. It's anger, it's betrayal, it's fear, it's judgment, it's pride, it's all kinds of things, right? Lack of forgiveness. And so it really becomes just this kind of ball, and gets lodged in a lot of ways. And so it takes a lot of time. Grief is also another one of those too. And so sometimes, it takes some time to unravel those, emotions that are internalized within ourselves. So we want to do it gently. We want to do it, easily. We want to do it effortlessly. We want to do it, we can choose to make it fun and easy, right? We can choose to make it relaxed. We can choose to make it calm. We can choose to make it joyous. We can choose to make it peaceful. We can choose. And that's why really talking about the mind and talking about intention and talking about, I don't want your power. So people will ask me, well, what do I do about this? I don't know. You tell me. It's your life. I don't know. I'm over. I'm working on. I've got this going on. And so I can give you strategies. I can give you. I have a decision making course. I have a time management course. I've systematized these practices. Because lovingly I was raised by wolves, and so going out there, I had to develop these skills to be able to be successful in the professional world. It just wasn't, and also too, you get one peg, as a woman, you get 1,000 pegs for being black, another couple pegs for my hair, how dare you, a few pegs for how I speak and communicate, and then a lot of pegs for the degree, you see where we're going here. And so it has been definitely a challenge, but when you come through it and when you transform into your authentic and true self, which I'll teach you how to, all of that stuff doesn't matter anymore. Those boxes don't fit anymore, and you don't want them to fit, and they don't have to fit, and anything external about what people think of you at that point is none of your business, and you could literally care less. We care too much, I think, about what other people think for validation, and really I think that's that core emotional wounds that are deeply still hurting within all of us. So we'll break this down, and again, you can be as structured as you want to be with this experience, or, as more embodied and kind of feel it out. So it's really up to you, in terms of how you want. And again, here's the thing. You don't have to make your choice right this second, right? I even just presented to you that there's a choice and an option. And I'll record a little video too about the new email that went out, and also to the course experience and that sort of thing. So you'll kind of also be able to reflect and sit with them, and maybe I'll put up the little cards, and then you can kind of pick which one kind of works for you. So yay, exciting, very cool. So where's everybody from? Where's everybody residing, living, experiencing, etc.? While you guys are typing away, I'm going to talk about some practical things. So this is intro to awesome VA, intro to holistic medicine, Vegas in the house. Okay, what's the difference between DNM and ND? I will tell you. Ohio. Intro to holistic medicine is a 12-week course. It's broken down into 3 major sections. It starts tomorrow officially. We're so excited. But I always anticipate stragglers. Brooklyn in the house. Always anticipate stragglers in the first week. So if you haven't registered, it's okay. Carolina, Charlotte, go ahead and click the link in the bio, fill out the form, and then you'll be given Vegas. You'll be given an email, Maryland. So you'll be given an email, and then it will guide you through kind of what you need to do step by step. If you want a certificate for this course, you can. Vegas and Chi-Town, there is 2 fee options for that, $39 times 3 if you want to break it up into payments, or it's $110 for the entire course, and that's the instructional. There are supplies for this class. Definitely go into the YouTube and TikTok playlist and save those playlists and get alerts for them. There are 3 videos on there right now. One about, the syllabus and course materials and all of that. The second one is about I think it's about like how to register, how to find the link, all that stuff. And then the third one is about the communities and choosing your communities. And then today I'll record one later that'll be, how to choose your communities and different intentional journal prompts that you can do to be able to kind of consider that and deepen it. So again, I'm giving you lots of information, lots of access. It's really up to you in terms of what your comfort level is and what you're drawn to. So really be intentional. That's why we're slowing it way down and we're going, wait a second, we're all excited. That's why you notice there wasn't like a whole thing, right? We go, okay, fill out the form. Okay, there's a little thing. Just be patient. Why? Because I'm waiting, right, for the next step. Right? I'm not, I'm creating this experience. I'm a container and a vessel for the experience, but I'm also waiting and being intentional too. And as I'm guided and led, and then I go, oh, okay, right. Because remember we talked about I'm like a Sherpa, right? So I'm with you in this journey. So the people that are drawn in, right? So we're drawing all these people in, right? All of these people in from the outside who really are seeking this new way of healing, this new method of healing, and they're ready. They're ready, they're willing, they're excited, either for themselves, their family, helping other people, having a practice, extending the practice that they're in, because I've worked with tons of, conventional healthcare practitioners as well, wanting to get into holistic medicine, or even just people that just want to be around, like-minded people that they can talk about this stuff with. So there's a lot of options. Again, I really am careful about data protection, all that stuff. So this is built completely off of all social networks, so no Facebook groups or anything like that crazy. This is a complete, it's off of our own domain, all the HIPAA, all the data compliances and all of those things. So if you see anything in any of the rooms or whatnot that are like, hey, I don't know what's going on, feel free to point them out. That way I can, broken links and whatnot, because it happens. So so I'll record that video later today. It'll be good. And then we'll go from there. So just so we kind of are clear about next week's schedule. So Sunday I will post the assignments for the week, whatever track you're on. So it's important kind of throughout the day to kind of sit with that, so which homework assignment you're taking for the week. And so I'll post that on Sunday, and also send an email out and that kind of thing. And then from there, Morning Flow is Monday through Friday morning for an hour, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then I'll have 2 study group co-working sessions. It'll be probably about an hour or 2 apiece. And I'm going to teach you the Pomodoro method and teach you how to focus your concentration, get that dopamine out of catabolism, and teach you how to focus. And so believe it or not, it will be a very helpful class if you are a wanderer of sorts. And so just so that, we can practice and build some habits. And then also the 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time class is an hour-long class where we kind of really start to present what we're talking about for the week, and then we do a deeper one on Saturday, 2 hours, where we really have this discussion. So there will be the replays that'll be found in the course shell, also on YouTube as well. Probably won't be on TikTok just because of the length of the time, because they limit it. But there will be clips and things like that, so you'll be able to see that. So that is the course. I'm really excited and cannot wait to meet and share with all of you and hear all about your journeys and what got you here to this point and what you're looking to gain from this experience, because it is going to be definitely one that's fun and rewarding. And really also think about how you want to create it, because if you come from intention, as you can see, it's a different experience than if you just come from a very reactionary space. So we want to begin to choose to live a more proactive life instead of a reactive life, because if we're proactive, we're prepared, right? And it doesn't mean now we have to, go all of a sudden and go get the bunker and the canned foods and all that, unless that's what your inspired action says to do. But it's really about living in the flow and living in really your authentic truth. And not everyone's going to understand your authentic truth, and that's okay. I think as we heal that need to belong and that need for external acceptance and validation, and we start to build more emotional resilience, and we start to heal from our emotional abandonment, then we're going to be more powerful and more strong in our communication and our voice and our truth, and be able to make sure our yeses are yeses and our no's are no's, and that we are also inspiring the people around us and encouraging them to come together. So yay, I'm excited. So here we are having fun the day before. Another thing that you may want to consider to kind of help flush out your intention is the person that we created, the person that you went to when we did that meditation, where you sat and kind of relaxed and, thought about, who you were in the future. Really sit and be with that person. You may want to consider writing a letter to either from that person's perspective, right? That would be a really interesting practice, or even writing it from your perspective, right? And so writing it from these perspectives, really helps you to challenge and expand different aspects. And remember, when you write, it goes from the subconscious mind. Also, too, it can help if there's a lot of heaviness or pain or grief around your past, right? And so if you're carrying around a lot of grief and heaviness and pain, it doesn't work if you're now trying to create something new out of that. So even if, let's say, you don't necessarily want to write from the perspective of the person in the future, even writing from your perspective now of what has brought you here, that way you can go back and read it in a year from now to really reflect and see. Because we come in, and again, a lot of people have said it, I feel broken, I feel I have to change, I've got all these issues. We come in with these false ideas, right? With these limiting beliefs, with these defense mechanisms, with these core beliefs. We come in with all of these bright ideas, right? And we don't really self-examine where these ideas came from, right? And who started these ideas, and were they our original ideas? Did we learn them somewhere? We're just taking our perception as literally gospel, and it's not. And so what we want to do is we want to take a step back, right, again, and put ourselves in the container. And so writing ourselves a letter, either from this perspective today or a year from now, reflecting back. So whatever feels called to you, if either option feels called to you, I would do that for today, just so you can flush that out and then sit with it, and then powerfully make that decision in terms of, what journey do you want to be on, and what you want to experience. So yay, so much fun. Very good, very good, very good. Another technique with the letter writing that's really powerful So I had a lot of resentment attached to my mother specifically, lots of resentment. And so I held on to that for so many years. I mean, it was like, hello, Cloud. It was like death grip, right? And so I use this particular technique really to help me kind of begin to kind of unravel that, right? Death grip, right? I hadn't completely let it go. And so we're human beings having an experience, but we also have fixed ways of being, right? So we want to be right, which means the other person is wrong, right? We want to be good, so we make the other person bad. We want to validate ourselves so we can invalidate the other person. But it's a very limiting way of thinking, right? It's not a growth mindset. It's a very disempowering one, right? However, I had, my mother's resentment like a little death grip, right? Because if I let this go, right, then that means, all these things. It didn't happen, and it wasn't wrong, and I deserved it, and I had made up all these stories about what it meant if I let this go, right? So I held on to this resentment like literally a blanket. Like it was like Linus running around all day. And so I use this particular letter technique to be able to slowly dislodge, right? So, okay, letter technique is I wrote down on a paper, so first things first, I get a paper, Dear Mom, right? And the first letter is probably going to be scathing. You just have to dump it out. I will tell you this. These letters, you never send them to these people. Okay, please do not. That is not the purpose of these letters. This letter is for you and you alone, in your eyes and your eyes only, and whoever you choose to share it with, right? Because we need just a container to nobody's feelings. It's not about other people's feelings. It's about our authentic truth and whatever that is, without anybody telling us it's wrong, it's bad. There's no things, right? Okay, so I laid all this out, right? First letter, scathing, right? So then I bring it to, whomever I was working with at the time, and they looked at it and they go, write it again. What? Write it again. What? Write it again. So then I went and I wrote it again, right? And it was still pretty like, there's a lot of stuff in there. I was like, gosh, I don't want to get arrested. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on. And then I bring it thinking, okay, this surely has gotten it, right? And they go, write it again. What? Write it again. So we did this back and forth, write it again, write it again, write it again, right? Almost to the point I was so mad at this person. I was so flaming mad at this teacher because they clearly did not know what they were doing. And I had written this 1,000 fucking times at this point. And there was nothing left, right? And so once I, wrote it a billion and quadrillion and quadrillion freaking times, number one, you get different perspectives every single time, right, as you're fleshing these things out, right? And so, okay, so that's one experience of write it out, right? So once you write it out, okay, so we're not done yet. That's what I'm saying. Like just buckle up, Buttercup. We're gonna be friends for a long time. Don't worry. You're gonna put me in your back pocket. I'm like your little Swiss Army knife. Trust me, you're gonna need it because I've been through it. I really feel like I was born into like American Gladiators, and like I've gotten to like this point. So anyway. All right, so once I got through the write out process, right, now we move into the speak it out process, right? Okay, so write it out is we write it out a billion, a quadrillion, a quadrillion. Yeah, no, so whoever said that there's some sort of evolution and some sort of like, enlightenment and some sort of like, now you made it and you did it and you healed everything. Yeah, whoever they are, I bring them here immediately. I need to speak to them because there's none of that, right? I mean, I have looked at so many things from so many different angles because again, I'm a scientific mind. So and then I like getting results. So I'm like, let me figure out this way. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, let me figure out that way. Okay, that didn't work. So no, there is no end to this. Yes, exactly. So just settle in. You know, the overachievers, you're going to be losing your minds for a while. Just relax, right? So here we go. So that's the write it out. So now the speak it out. So the speak it out is similar, right? You're still writing, but when you after you write it, right, you have to speak it out, right? And so you speak it out, right? And you can either do one of your letters or you can do all of your letters, but you need to speak it out. And as you're speaking it out, I would recommend you do all the letters, but you know, I'm just preventative like that. So you go through each one of these letters and you speak it out to an individual until you're no longer triggered by it, right? So a lot of times, you know, writing it is one thing because again, it's this safe little container that you've created, right? But now taking it from just your creation of writing to now I have to speak it out, right? To myself, right, is one step, and then to another person is another step, right? So if I speak them all out to myself, that's acknowledging to myself, right? And now I have to accept whatever I feel and think about that, and I have to deal with that, right? And then if I acknowledge it to somebody else and I speak it out in series to somebody else, now it's challenging my fear of vulnerability and whatever trauma that I have associated in connection with other people, right? Just that one tool alone is like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of therapy, for sure. So again, right? Whenever we say, I don't know, you know, I'm like, okay. So we're going to learn in this class, do not tell Dr. Steele you don't know, okay? Unless you really want to know. So it's same thing with that declaration, show me, right? I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to do my part. Show me, okay? So when you begin to make these declarations based off of your intentions and your desires, and then you project that out into the world, okay, it's a lot, right? And so it's okay, because if it reverbs back at you and you don't have the skills to manage it, that's why we're in our container in our community groups, because we can support you and hold your hand and give you those tools you need, because otherwise we're all just feral and free range out there. We, whatever set of tools we received mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, we did at the time and throughout our life, whatever we've been exposed to, is just that what we've been working on. So my thought process is, if we stop gatekeeping all the tools and we put the tools in an organized way, then what happens is we receive transformation not only as an individual but as a collective, right? Because transformation isn't necessarily going to look like you think it's going to look, right? And as we see, there's two dualities there. There's a person that you want to create in the future, and there's a person that you are now. Right? So why am I going to listen to the person that you are now about what the person in the future is going to accomplish? There's a whole set of situations, circumstances, and events that have not occurred yet. So I'd much rather speak from the space of creation, which means that you have to let go of the past. So if you can answer definitively which kind of group experience that you want, perfect, great. If there's hesitation and you don't know, right, that's where this letter activity can really help you to be able to kind of dive deeper. Reach out if you need any tutelage. Hello, yes, incognito. I sent you a response back. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to have a dialogue about this situation, because there's something in there that really holds true that I feel like needs to be spoken. So if you wouldn't mind responding, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, so it's really, about being intentional, knowing where you're at in the process, being honest with yourself, but also allowing some vulnerability, allowing a little bit of friction, a little bit of conflict, because that's what allows us to grow, right? We don't grow in our little, safety huts. That's not where growth happens, unfortunately. Growth happens when we challenge old ideas and old ways of thinking and old paradigms, right, that no longer serve, right? When we look at not just the intentions, but the impact of our intentions, right? And then we self-reflect and we take personal responsibility. We look at what we could have shifted and done differently. We then express from a place of power, right? Not a place of disempowerment, what our thoughts, what our feelings are, and what our new actions are moving forward now that we see a new possibility. So even looking at family systems and looking at even how we do community becomes really impacted by this work. So one of the modalities I was actually preparing for earlier today, I found an amazing resource. I'm so excited for you guys. You won't get it in this class, but for future classes. It really goes over family systems and family systems dynamics, and how we can solve conflicts as families and communicate as families and really have power as families. So it was really very, very cool. I did find a cool resource for you guys that you will receive, which is it's a chakra guide, because we talk a lot about the chakras and we're talking a lot about Kundalini, especially in the morning flow class. So it has different mantras on it. It has, different behavioral patterns that you can look for within yourself, just different things that, are useful. So I did find those resources that were really cool in today as I was looking. So I pack a lot of things in the community. So any community that you choose, it lets me know your intention, and that way I can find resources specifically, because again, my catalog is extensive of all the things. When you jump in there, though, there will be there's a Holistic Life app that you can be able to download. If you want to book a consult, or you need to order labs, or you need to get supplements, that's all in there. Not required by any stretch, but it's available for access. In the course shell, there's all of the different headers, announcements. Please introduce yourself in the group, where you're from, what you're up to, what you're looking for, etc., to really connect and build engagement. There is a leaderboard, so the more that you engage, the more that you can gain. There's also guides in there too, like, in terms of our meditation practice for the month. I'll go ahead and put that Kundalini meditation in there. Right now it's just kind of basic, like how to meditate, just for people, if they're just getting started. And I'll put the Kundalini meditation that we're doing, as well as all of the information. So you'll have that resource in any of the groups. So so I'm really excited. We also have workbooks as well. We'll have some tracking guides. We'll have downloadable tracking guides available if you're not able to use the digital ones, but I do recommend you to begin to use the digital ones. The Holistic Life app, you'll be putting your salivary pH in, you'll be putting your urinary pH. So we've been kind of talking a little bit about modalities, so let's pull it back into, perfect, I'll check it out. Let's look into data, right? So when we look into data, we're looking at, there's subjective data, so there'll be a questionnaire that you'll fill out once you get in there, and that's your nutritional assessment questionnaire. So the nutritional assessment questionnaire will go over all different symptom blocks. It's probably like a 2, 3, 4, it's a pretty extensive questionnaire, and you'll go through it, and what the questionnaire will ask you is all of these things, and what I'm going to show you on the back end is which organ systems are affected, what numbers are affected when we get into subjective data. So that'll be in the second week, and so you'll begin to have some clues and some understanding in terms of nutritionally where you're deficient in and where you perhaps need to work on your diet or take some supplements or whatever. And also you'll be able to know this will be a tool that you can use moving forward, for friends and family and that kind of thing. You're not hanging shingles. Remember, I can't stress that enough. Then we'll look at objective data. So that's really the third week. We're going to set you up with remote patient monitoring monitoring tools. And so make sure that we're checking your salivary pH, your urinary pH as well. And we're not going to get quite into heart rate yet, but we'll introduce heart rate during that week as well, because there's a little bit more complexity to heart rate, but we'll definitely be working on that. And then the last week we'll talk about remedies and what remedies you can use if your numbers are low, if your numbers are high. And a lot of them are, it's not super crazy things, it's super easy things. So we'll talk about that. And then in that second part, we really break down these different modalities. And now that you've got all your data set up, now you're going to really play around with these different modalities and kind of see, how they affect your body and what's going on, because we're in this framework of what do we think, right? We think this may help us. What do we know? We know this helped us, right? Because we proved that this helped us. So our heart rate was at this number, and then we did this meditation, and then our heart rate went down to this. So see, look, kids, this works. And so a lot of even the neurofeedback stuff, or even the neurological things that I do, the brain training and all that, I did a lot of that work in applied psychophysiology and really understanding the feedback that the body gives. So really exciting stuff, quite honestly. I'm super stoked about it. All right, do you guys have any other questions for me? If you're not registered yet, go ahead and click the link in the bio. It's a 12-week course. We break it down into 3 parts. As I was just kind of describing that first part. The second part, we, again, work through the modalities. So we'll be working with nutrition. So that's where we'll be doing challenges. Like we'll maybe start like a 7-week challenge with that. So we'll be, healthy eating challenge, and we'll work through, kind of a food plan, and kind of see how the data changes from the beginning to the end of the week. And then the next week of that, we'll look at meditation. So we'll do like a meditation challenge that week and really focus on, looking at how the heart rate gets affected by our meditation practice. And then we'll do a movement week as well, and we'll look at how those data markers change as a result to that. And then that last week, we'll do kind of just like case study integration, and then like, hey, what's next? What are we doing next? So yeah, and then just so you know, this is you can receive a certification with this course with my school. So we're we're unofficially a part of Hillman Talk, but officially I have my own business and system and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, totally. I will send it over, my love. Yeah, I'll send it over today. That's kind of, I have patient stuff too. I've been doing more of the creative than the left brain logical. So yes, indeed. Yeah, I try to structure everything so it works. So I was like, I knew I had to come on live with you guys, so I work on it afterwards. Yes. So definitely make sure that you check the playlist, Intro to Holistic Medicine, both on TikTok as well as YouTube, and save that, because I'll do announcements and send those out. Starting tomorrow, I'll post one, and then I'll also post a video today, kind of about those 3 journeys and those 3 experiences, and just some journal prompt questions to think about, as you're setting your intention about what it is you want to create through this experience together. And then check out the emails that are coming through, and then once my once the security links go through, I should be able to send you guys text messages. So then I'll let you know, hey, I'm going live, so you'll be able to get that. So, and you can opt out of everything or anything if you want to. I try not to bother you, only give you what you need. But there's definitely a lot of information in the beginning to make sure. And I try, if we get consistent the same questions, that's when I'll do kind of like a video or something like that. So it goes out to the collective. Indeed. So, and definitely participate and stay active. the conversation, there's a certain language, conscious language and conscious communication that we're working through, so it's helpful when you can stay in the language and in the communication and in the conversation, so that you're not straying away. Yes. Good afternoon, Andrea. Do you have any questions about the class? I know, I am too. Exactly. It's going to be so much fun. Like, I'm really excited about how just the flow is going. Yes, keep each other accountable is key, right? Hold ourselves accountable. It's like, if I know I told you guys I'm going live, I've got to go live, and so I love that part of it. I love being able to get back and teach and enjoy that. So, it'll be good, and definitely good community, and I'm hoping you guys meet each other and be able to meet in the communities and mix and mingle and have a safe and healthy relationship. Okay, so I was reviewing about kind of our most recent, so I'll kind of start from the beginning. So my name's Dr. Steele. This is Intro to Holistic Medicine info session. So our class officially hasn't started yet. It starts tomorrow officially. If you haven't done so already, click the link in the bio, fill out the form. Once you receive the form, you should receive in about 10 minutes or so an email. The email will have information in it about the course, like all the particulars, that sort of thing. And then I just sent an email out today. So in the series, if you sign up today or whatever, I'll put in the series, then you want to join the community. There's 3 different communities. I sent that out. So all I do tomorrow is post the assignments for the week. So it's just to get proactive instead of reactive. Technically, the class starts Monday, right? Where like discussions and all that is opened up or whatever, but you'll have the assignment posted. So look to your playlist on Sunday. Remember, I'm all proactive, so everything's planned, everything's like, I try to be a step ahead of y'all, so that way, it takes pressure off the nervous system and people are not stressed, and so that sort of thing. So Sunday I'll post on the playlist kind of the assignment, so based off of your journey. So if you want to be a holistic health coach, you're going to have one assignment. If you're just doing, holistic lifestyle community for you and your family, there'll be another assignment. And then if you are in Pure Black, there's going to be another assignment. So just different intentions, different focuses, different journeys, different experiences, lots of overlap, but nonetheless, just me understand kind of where you're going. So that email went out today, and I'll record a video for you and post it later today, so you can be intentional, right? And again, we kind of talked about, if you don't even know what journey you're going to go on, right? You're like, I don't even know, I just got excited. I'm going to kind of give you some tools and a little bit of technique to be able to kind of flush it out for you so that you make intent. It doesn't mean like if you start on one and you're like, yeah, I don't know, you can go. I think everybody should be a part of the holistic lifestyle community. Again, you can mix and match, you can join them all, whatever. I just pace yourself because I am going to give you a lot of information. It's a lot of similar information, but it's very focused in terms of what the intention is, because we have an intention and then we flow through a thought. So we're going to work through the thoughts from our intention because we're trying to create a result, right? When we're trying to create a result in our life, a tangible result, a specific, a measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based, right? So those are our specific goals. So we're going to really get specific about what we're trying to create. So tangibly, a lot of times people will try to create, let's say, a weight loss situation, so an actual number goal, or their mental health, they want it to improve up or down. They want to be less anxious or less depressed, or they want to have more energy or whatever. Then, high-level professionals that are like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm trying to work-life balance is getting too much, I tend to help with that, right? And then also those people with chronic disease, right? They're like, I'm taking a million medications, I'm tired of this, I've been to every doctor under the sun, I'm getting conflicting answers, I just need a process and a journey, right? And then those people that are like, I want to, transition my family into more of a holistic lifestyle, I want to be healthy, we're sick all the time, we're not eating well, whatever. I really want to take this on for my family. So think from those terms too, that can help you in terms of even just if you're going, let's say, to be a health coach, what, group you'd want to serve, or if you're going for your family, kind of thinking about, okay, is my husband that high level professional, or is my wife that high level professional, or is my partner that high level professional that maybe need a little bit more balancing? So maybe I need to really work on my own balancing, etc. So there's all these different contexts to think about, and so you'll choose that, and then on Sunday I'll post the assignments, and it'll be real easy the first week. Like, it's not going to be super, just more so like make sure you introduce yourself and, also, an inquiry question. So there's going to be a lot of inquiry questions. So, again, this is self-reflection and self-awareness, and you're beginning to look at self and beginning to, put yourself in that container and go, what is it? What do I think? What do I know? What can I prove? What's going on here? So, so that's the structure. So Sunday I'll post that video. Then I'll probably pop on live as well. Let you know it's posted. Full disclosure, tomorrow is my birthday. So I may or may not, just depending on what my husband has planned. So I'll let you guys know about that. And then Monday, I will come on to just kind of, again, I'll be on Morning Flow in the morning, but also another time during the day just to kind of make sure everybody's good. I also will have a couple co-working / study sessions during the week, probably on Tuesday and Thursday afternoon sometime. There is a event calendar in all of the groups, and so they will all have all of our events, because sometimes there will be individual meetings for the particular groups, and so like Zoom and that kind of thing. So those will be housed in the event area. I'm going to try to see if I can transfer the course shell into everyone, so we'll see how that goes. So I'll let you know. Otherwise, we may just all be working from the same course shell. So I'll let you know. It's more of a technical thing. That's why I kind of take my time and put these in. So I'll be really excited to have you guys for the 12 weeks. And then it's an intro course, no prerequisites are required. If you have paid for the course, you will get a certificate at the end. And then if you want to go further, we'll talk about that in the last week of the class, kind of what everybody's goals are, what their intentions are, and where they want to go. And so we kind of get everybody to where they need to go from that. So it's going to be a pretty fun experience. I'm excited, and I think it'll be really good. I'm always anticipating stragglers the first week, and so there'll be people straggling along, coming in, and so that'll be fun. Hey Kron, hey Melanated, I saw you guys come in. So so we'll get that going. So definitely save the playlist so that, new announcements and things, and I'll post a video about kind of how to join the communities, and then just some inquiry questions that you can think about, as you go along in this experience. So I'm going to jump off probably in about 10 minutes. Do you guys have any other questions for me? Yay! I'm excited. So if you've just registered, you will receive an email. That email will go over, the course particulars, all the things that we just talked about, when the classes are, how they're held, all of those fun things, the syllabus as well. And then you should be receiving also too the email about the community as well, probably later today. I haven't set it in the automation yet. I probably should have done that already, but it's okay. I'll set it up, and then you'll get that option. So, yay! So here we are at the beginning. So in the beginning of the class, we also created kind of who we are in the future, really the thought, the feeling, all of that. We really connected with that energy of who we were at the end versus who we are now, right? And so the only thing that's different between these two humans is who you be, right? And so we're going to really examine and deconstruct your ways of being, right? And so what's your ways of being? Your actions, right? Where do your actions come from? They come from your emotional reactions, your emotional responses. Where do those come from? Your thoughts. Where do those come from? Your intention, right? And so where do those come from? Your desires. So we're going to begin to really break these things down. See you later. We're going to really break these systems down and give you some new language, some new tools, be able to acknowledge what you're thinking, what you're feeling, be able to articulate it, and then be able to reframe it into a more powerful existence and a creation for yourself. Because we have to acknowledge the past in order to move forward. We can't just ignore, repress, deny the past, and then drag it into the present and expect a happy future. It just doesn't work that way. So we're going to break this down slowly but surely. We've got our container of support and love and fun, and I'm really excited about this journey with you guys. So great. Do you have any other questions before I jump off? I'm getting a little hungry. I think I'm going to grab a little bite before I move to this next block of time in my schedule. Any other questions? Comments? Yay! Well, I will see you guys tomorrow. Look out for that playlist video later today. I'll post that and also be sending out emails. And I'll see you guys probably tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. I don't know what my plan is. It is my 40th birthday, so it's a big birthday. So and I've been waiting for this one for a long time. So I may want to just spin that in Zen. So we'll see how it goes. And then so we'll see you. If not, I'll see you definitely on Monday. At least you'll have your course video. So you'll at least know what to do for tomorrow. And I'll see you in the communities, and I'll see you all around. And so we'll have a good time. So yay! Exactly. So excited. Thank you so much. I'm really excited about this one. I must be honest. It's really exciting. So, all right, my dears. So I'm going to jump off, grab a little bite to eat, and I will see you tomorrow, this week, all around.